Hello, everyone. Welcome in. It's All Pro Lines, the podcast, comedy, football talk. That's what we do here. I'm Kostaki Economopoulos, your host. Chris Bowers, friend of the podcast, Funny Comic, will be in here in a few. We're happy you're with us. It's a playoff edition. We had playoff fun this week. It was nice. If you whoops, I'm a little, all right, okay. If you like the Packers and the Lions and the Texans and some other teams, you had a great weekend. And if you hate the Cowboys, you might have been the best. It's like Christmas morning. It was a lot for me, for my Schadenfreude. There was a lot going on this week. We got rid of Nick Saban. We got rid of Bill Belichick. The Cowboys lost. It was pretty sweet for a guy rooting for a team that's not in the playoffs. So a lot to report, a lot to cover, a lot to discuss. I would like to discuss briefly, I don't want to give this too much attention, but just briefly, I want to talk a little bit about the zeal that people have for Aaron Rodgers, and also the underworld that believes that Jimmy Kimmel is a pedophile. I didn't know either one of these things. I didn't know anyone really cared about Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I'm not completely tone deaf. I get that Aaron has a little Joe Rogan-ish sort of appeal to him because he's going against the stream on a couple of the key subjects that have become divisive. But I didn't realize until I posted a couple of Aaron Rodgers memes that people really are rabidly supportive of Aaron Rodgers. That I had no idea. And further, I didn't know that people are 100% sure that Jimmy Kimmel is a pedophile. I guess there's a swirling, gigantic, widespread internet group who believe that this is true, and there's other extensive parts to this. I only went down part of the rabbit hole and then I stopped. Apparently there's a very strong feeling amongst some that pedophilia is rampant in Hollywood, and there's a wide open trafficking scene, and Jimmy Kimmel is a part of it. And as far as I can tell, none of this is based on any truth at all. But man, it's there and it's solid in it. People, they want to weigh in when you make a joke about Rodgers or Kimmel. I literally didn't know that this was happening. I didn't anticipate that. I didn't see either of the jokes as political or partisan or divisive, but I posted a couple of memes and man, it went bananas and mean-spirited and angry and partisan and name-calling and pedophilia. I mean, and I was in there because I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and I feel like it is important to have a voice in the public square. And the public square in the modern world is on Facebook. I mean, it's a lot of other places too, but that's where our public square is now. That's where we are discussing things. And I feel like leaving a void there allows it to be filled with garbage and with no sort of mediating voice. And so I feel some sense of obligation when someone posts that Jimmy Kimmel is a pedophile to say, hey, that's actually, there's no evidence. That's not true. That's a crazy internet conspiracy. Here's the article that sort of breaks it down. Here's the, here is the piece that writes about how these things develop. And here's the thing that, here's the article that says that Kimmel's not on the Epstein list, and everyone says that he is. Like, he's not. That's a fact. The facts are important. I felt some sense of obligation to be a voice for what we know to be true. Again, I know some of these things are debatable, but broadly, some of the facts are known to be true, and they should be part of the conversation. And so I was doing what I thought to fill that void. And man, people got pissed, and I was accused of every possible awful thing, including pedophilia. That's how the civil society has broken down. Like, I stand up for a guy who's running a pedophile ring in their eyes, so I'm probably on the Epstein list too. Oh, okay. All right, I guess we can't have a civil conversation. I mean, and some of the things people posted were wildly irresponsible about vaccines and the different stories of pedophiles in Hollywood. And eventually I just decided to kill the comments on the memes just because they got so crazy. And I mean, again, I understand everyone wants to have a voice, and I'm for that. And you disagree with me on my memes 99% of the time, fine. You have a political take. I don't love that, but it's fine. It's welcome at some level. But also, we're not a political discussion group. It's a football joke page. And I think it really took away from that, and it got so mean spirited and so atrocious that I just like deleted the comments. And then I got one note in particular that was like, hey, I love you, but if you're going to post a divisive thing and then not let people have the other side, then that's an unfollow for me. And I kind of wrote a long response to that. And it made me think, I get that point. So ultimately, I just deleted the memes too. It's like, all right, done. Now, that didn't need to happen on Twitter or on Instagram or on TikTok. But on Facebook, for whatever reason, it went crazy and got divisive. And eventually I was like stressing about it, and I was worried about it, and I was trying very hard to make thoughtful responses. And in the end, do you really change anyone's mind? Is there a voice that's in the room that is actually useful to be there? I don't know. I don't know if any of that is true. And in the end, it made me uncomfortable and unhappy to have this sort of conversation. I mean, it's just screaming at each other online. So I just deleted it and moved on. I think that's the right choice, but man, it's debatable, and it sure made me feel weird all the way around for all the reasons. So anyway, I strive to be non-political on the All Pro Lines pages. Occasionally, like this week we did a joke. There's a couple of jokes that are a little bit partisan. But I think a little bit's fine, And one of the points I made was on the thing, like one of the guys was like, yeah, you could say you're nonpartisan, but you're not making fun of, and then he had this giant list of Hunter Biden but it's like none of those guys are quarterback for the Jets. They're not football people. That's why I'm not writing jokes about them on the football joke page. And an example that I had, to me, the most partisan, harshest joke I've ever done on All Pro Lines was Teddy Bridgewater would be a great nickname for Ted Kennedy. That's referencing maybe one of the biggest names of the Democratic Party in all of its history. A death, the DUI, a half-assed company. I mean, it's a pretty awful joke, and it's pretty one-sided. Nobody said shit. I think we should be able to joke about things, even if they're somewhat political, as long as they're sort of, that's where I currently sit. And I know that you can move up and down this line, and whatever you land on is defensible and fine. But my current position is, you joke about the Ted Kennedys of the world because they're the extreme and they kind of transcend partisan politics. We can accept that was a story that was really yucky and we're going to reference it. And, you could kid around about Biden stumbling and not getting the words right. And you could joke about, all right, here's a joke we did from this week. The Cowboys got bounced out of the playoffs faster than a book from a Texas library. All right. You could argue that's a partisan joke, and we're going to get pissed about that and take sides. I think that's sort of the extreme where you go, all right, we can all agree that that's something we can laugh about. That's my current place on this. So I understand it's debatable. I'm happy to take notes on this kind of thing. And we're moving on. I'm like Pat McAfee when Aaron Rodgers season 4 of Aaron Rodgers is over. Okay, let's do some jokes. Do a few jokes and we'll get Chris Bowers out.
The 2-minute drill.
The Cowboys lost. That was fun, huh? That Dallas game was so embarrassing. The Village people have asked the Cowboy to leave. Like, we can't. The Marlboro man took off his hat and turned off his oxygen tank. Woody from Toy Story killed himself. Yosemite Sam started telling people he's from Jersey. This is the second worst day in Dallas history. Hashtag JFK. Okay. There's a joke that upset some people, but that wasn't partisan. That was just like, hey, that's not nice. That's fine. I'm okay with that. That to me is the people going, too soon. That's not funny. To me, that's just a groan. That's the social media version of some of the people in the audience are going to go, and other people are going to laugh. Like, that's fine. I don't have any problem with that. I totally get that. A man was killed. And I get it. I understand that's a sensitive area for some people. But the Cowboys suck. That's the point here. The Texas border is more secure than the end zone. That could be, you could be mad about that. I'm pretty sure several people from Mexico and Guatemala scored in this game. See, that could be, you could interpret that as Democrat bashing because but all right. Let's take it easy. These are jokes, everybody. The Dallas defense looked less like Pro Bowlers and more like the defense that they play in the Pro Bowl. The coverage is terrible. You expect better coverage in a stadium sponsored by AT&T. The only hot spot in the building was the coach's chair. Huh? That's a good tag. That was written by a guy on Facebook. Join us, by the way, All Pro Lines, Facebook. That's where all the action is. This game really aged Jerry Jones. At the kickoff, he was only 46 years old. Now he looks like an old man. A Cowboys upset. In the old days, to upset a bunch of Cowboys, you just needed two guys to hold hands. Now you got to have a whole game plan, and you got to hand to the Packers. Debbie didn't do Dallas this good. It didn't look like the Browns watched any film of the Texans. I'm going to guess. Was it only available on Peacock? Is that what happened there? It's been 9 years between Joe Flacco's last two playoff appearances. It felt like it was that long between the Browns' touchdowns this weekend. Maybe what the problem was that the game started at 4:30, which for Joe Flacco is now dinner time. Chiefs beat the Dolphins. Dolphins have now lost 11 straight games when the temperature is 40 or below. Yeah, this was below 40. What did they barbecue this weekend in Kansas City? Frozen dolphin. Oh, I'll have to get some frozen dolphin on the grill. Frozen dolphin sounds like slang for an erection. Jake Browning's girlfriend really freezes my dolphin. You know what I'm saying? One of the coldest games in NFL history. This is what they kept saying. It's not even the coldest game this year. The Dolphins beat the Broncos 70-20. That's pretty cold. Here, this was a cold game. Up by 24 points with a minute left. Jameis Winston faked a kneel down and handed it off for a touchdown. That was cold. Andy Reid's mustache froze. Probably some other things froze too, but I'm not looking. The Bills asked folks to come do some shoveling in the stadium. Mike McCarthy was going to help, but he was busy digging his professional grave. This poor guy. The whole country was affected by the crazy weather. Pat McAfee told Norby he was going to have Aaron Rodgers on whenever the fuck he wanted, just to get some heat. Huh? I like that joke structure. We should write 10 of those. You think it was cold in Kansas City and Buffalo? Check out Detroit. Hell froze over. First Lion playoff win, 32 years. Congrats, Lions faithful. You hung in there. You did it. The Lions doubled their playoff wins since 1957 this weekend. Congratulations, Lions. How do you not root for the Lions at this point? I think it's awesome. Patriots hired Gerard Mayo to coach. The reason is now bracing for many years of terrible jokes about Mayo. Mayo headlines. Oh, it's going to be brutal. Hang in there. California might ban tackle football for kids under 12, a policy already adopted by the Panthers. All right, that's enough jokes. You get the idea. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the friends of the podcast, a buddy of mine, funny dude. You know him, you love him. You might know him from the Bob and Tom Show. He's been on lots of other things too. Chris Bowers, everybody.
Hey, what's up, Stocky? How you doing? I only got like 40 minutes of a baby in the oven I got to get to in a minute, so I can't be on here too long. But
you got a what? What?
A baby in the oven. I'm a Democrat, so I eat babies, obviously. So, that's what's going on. Had some trouble, did you? Had a little kerfuffle on all of a sudden Aaron Rodgers.
I don't mind a little kerfuffle, but it was like full-on insanity.
what's stupid is that's going to make your whole media presence double. Like when you make people mad at each other and they scream in the comments, the algorithm gives you more whatever the fuck.
It is true that more comments is good for the algorithm. And so when there's bickering, it's like it sort of adds up quick.
If you said something that everyone was going to like, that every single person on the internet was going to click like, that's the funniest thing I ever saw, 100 people would see it. If you put up something that half the people want to murder you, then everyone sees it. It's just the dumb system.
It is a dumb system. It does create, I mean, that's one of the problems that I was actually trying to explain this in the thread. Like saying things that are outrageous and even false that are pleasing and off-putting can be very profitable online. That's why immediately when the story breaks, people fake a picture of Jimmy Kimmel on the flight logs because it gets a lot of clicks. But it's not true, and ultimately true is part of the conversation. I don't know. It's a tricky little universe. I honestly, not to overstate it, but I really think this is maybe the greatest threat to democracy we've seen, because no one has the same news source anymore.
Right.
And now we've gone even one step beyond that. Like it's not just a crazy like flat earth fringe. It's like 30% of the people are not listening to news anymore. They're just getting their news from internet conspiracy conversations. That's a big problem.
Well, now I think, AI is coming and eventually it'll sort all that shit out and it'll know the difference and whatever. But yeah. But it's just it. And what's weird is how many people take advantage of this thing, and they make people all riled up and angry because that's what gets you more followers. Because again, your show, whatever those memes went to 50 times to 1,000 times more people in their feeds, and every time people got angry, it showed it to other people who are prone to get angry because it knows it would, and it shows it to people on both sides to keep it going. It's just a whole, the fact that we decided engagement is what matters and not truth is what is the problem.
Yeah. So, I don't want to give too much attention to this, but let me just ask you one question. If you're running the All Pro Lines page, what do? Do you stay out of it and let them bicker with each other? Do you get in there? Do you end the comments? Do you pull the meme? What's your call or something like that?
Look, I try not to contribute to the problem. So whenever I have a thing where people are getting nasty to each other, I just shut the whole thing down. I go, okay, this isn't what this was about. This is a joke about onions. I can't believe we're this mad. You know what I mean? Like, so what the fuck are we talking about?
You're crying like a lib. Yeah, that's right.
I made an onion joke, and now we're fucking someone's Hitler. I mean, shut the fuck up. I'm shutting it down. You guys cannot have nice things.
That is exactly right. Immediately, you're a pedophile. You're Hitler. Can we just have a conversation, you assholes?
Why is that? Yeah, that's the go-to. But because that's the worst thing you can say about somebody, and there's no, you know what I mean? And I mean, it's
kind of the end of the conversation when you go with pedophile or Hitler.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a Hitler pedophile. I don't know. Like, would you go back in time and molest Hitler? Anyway, hurt his self-esteem so he can't take over Germany. His up as a child, more for this. I don't know how we're doing it. Anyway, it was fun. The Cowboys lost. How fun was that? God damn.
I loved it.
I only came back for my victory lap. I was wrong about all of my Bengals predictions this year because Joe Burrow got hurt 7 different times. But
well, that's hard to.
I thought Jake Browning might take us to the Super Bowl, and I was like, then what do? You know what I mean? Do you trade Burrow or Browning? But anyway, but I did.
That would be a nice problem to have.
I was on the week before the season started, and I had one hot take that Aaron Rodgers, the guy we're talking about right now, would not make the playoffs, and Jordan Love would. And holy shit, look at that! I thought I was. Like the first day, I got half this right already, fucking 6 minutes in. And then Jordan Love, about the middle of the season, I thought, I'm stupid. But no, that guy, what the fuck? He's good, isn't he?
Man, well, it's weird because he's not a rookie. He's been around for a long time.
The Packers do it, man. They
How does he suck for the first half of a year that's not the rookie year and then get great?
Well, because I think you got to be in there to actually get – I think he had all the tools. He was ready. It's just like one of those things where it's like now you got to get the speed down. It's like you ever competitively jump rope. No?
Yeah. Competitively jump. Yeah, of course I did. I do it on the side. It's my side hustle.
I thought you were a thump jumper. Anyway, the point is, you gotta take the second to get the rhythm down. How do you hit? He's got to. But like, it took him a couple games to actually get the speed down, or they were rope a doping. Okay, I have a theory. I think a lot of teams don't show everything. I think they play their players, but like I know the Bengals for sure. There's games where we don't use any of our real plays. Like we're like, oh, these are the Texans, or this is the Panthers. We're gonna just beat them anyway. So let's just use our base offense and not show anybody film. Do you think anybody does that? Think people rope a dope and like hide shit?
There's probably a little bit of that, but you don't want to overdo it. You might not get to where you show it off, right?
Maybe, but I'm saying like the teams that like always have this. I'm just saying. I think the Bengals, the first time they play the Steelers, the Browns, and the Ravens, they don't show them any of their plays, and they don't care if they win or lose those first 3 games, so they can win at the end. And then we got hurt; it didn't matter. But I don't know. I think there's some of that. But how stupid are the Carolina Panthers, by the way? God damn, that's fun. They are so dumb. I mean, how do you fuck that up that bad? They not only traded they traded Caleb Williams for fucking Bryce Young and picked the wrong guy.
That's right. Yeah, you're right.
They could have CJ out, and they essentially traded Caleb Williams for Bryce Young.
I can't believe both of the directions. I can't believe that Stroud is as good as he is, and I can't believe that Bryce is as bad as he is. They're both shocking to me, actually.
Bryce,
so
what, 5'1", 133 pounds? I mean, the guy.
He's not 5'1".
He's like shorter than Muggsy Bogues, right? I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, the guy.
For a quarterback, he's short. He's not short. But yeah, he's looked terrible, and the team looks terrible, and the owner's throwing drinks on people, and it's a fucking disaster. And that's funny because the only good thing about being really terrible in the NFL is you get the first overall pick in the draft, and they traded it away. So there was no joy. And every time they lost, it made their pick more valuable, which was even more.
Yeah,
I totally get being the owner and being frustrated.
Now, here's a question. I get that Tepper dude seems like a nerd, like a real nerd. So I really want to know how milquetoast and just lame the heckle was that he threw the drink at. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah. I thought that too. I was
man, those Panthers aren't very good. He was like, don't say that. Like, I guarantee it wasn't a good joke. Like, I didn't fucking really burn him. It was like something totally lame that he threw.
I thought that too. I was like, it's like the Bill Burr joke about you shouldn't hit a woman, but they never tell us what she said right before that.
Exactly. But I guarantee it wasn't even a good heckle. It wasn't even like a quality you should have got. That was so funny. All he could do was throw a drink on you. I guarantee it was probably something super lame.
$300,000, and then everyone was doing the math of what that would be like for a real person.
Oh, yeah, it was like a buck and a half. I remember I was at a Colts game once when Jeff George was the Colts quarterback or whatever. When he was terrible, and at one time, I went with my buddies. It was right after Ron Meyer gotten fired, the coach or whatever. And my one buddy in college was his next door neighbor. So he gives us these 4 tickets. We're college kids. So my buddy was a Steelers fan. So 2 of them dressed in Steelers garb. We're sitting in the Colts friends and family seats. They're in Steelers jerseys. At one point, the old lady turned and she goes, "Where'd you get your seats?" We're like, "Oh, these are Ron Meyer seats." She goes, "Oh, I know whose seats they are. I want to know how you got them." Anyway, at one point, Jeff George just throws the worst interception I've ever seen. And I stand up and I go, "Personal foul, number 14, impersonating a quarterback." Penalty, first down. And these 2 people got up like 4 rows in front of us and walked out. And the old lady turned around and goes, "Those were Jeff George's parents, just so you know." And years later, I'm at the Indianapolis airport and I'm standing in line to check my bag. And the guy in front of him had to like change the weight of his bag. So he's like going through it. He's bent over. And the lady goes, "Jeff George?" And I go, "That's an unfortunate name." And the guy stands up. It's the real Jeff George. And he goes, "Why?" Fuck, you got me. I was making fun of you. Remember when you were a terrible quarterback in Indianapolis? I took my glasses off. I go, "You can hit me if you want." He goes, "I've heard worse, brother." He just walked away.
Yeah, Jeff George, quite a roller coaster ride. I'm sure he has heard worse.
Oh God, especially he was from Indianapolis, number 1 overall pick. Rocket.
That's got to be the toughest situation is when you are a high-profile name coming in and you don't really live up to the hype, or you have these sort of ups and downs where people have good expectations and then you disappoint. It's one thing to be sort of unknown, like, no, you're not on anyone's fantasy team. No one's screaming at you. You know,
I've always been fascinated about people who almost made it. You know, there's a woman who was the star of Starship Troopers, and then that was it. You know, you get one big blockbuster movie, and that's now you're back to doing Capital One commercials, but not because you're famous, because you actually.
Oh yeah.
It's like, Jesus Christ.
I'm in Hollywood. There's millions of people with those stories around me within an hour's drive in every direction.
But also I had a buddy, my buddy Keith Collins is a bartender in Annapolis. He went to Appalachian State, was a defensive back, got drafted 2 picks after Shannon Sharp by the Chargers, was going to make the team. Then last preseason game blows his ACL, and that was it. You know, now he's a bartender. I mean, there's all kinds of guys. Played AAA baseball, but couldn't hit a curveball. Now they're sell cars or car. You know, they're the best athlete in their high school. They started 3 years at Auburn, and now they're, you know, selling cars so they can't hit a curve.
Yeah, of course. Most people who are athletes have some version of that story. You know?
Yeah, so I'm just looking for people that almost got it. You know,
it's a tiny little, you know, it's the tiny little top of the pyramid that we're watching in the NFL. I mean, all these millions of kids with dreams, and most of them don't end with "I'm in the NFL now." That's the nature of what it is.
Yeah. Do you think football now with NIL? I think there's going to be a lot of teams that are a bunch of 5 and 6 year seniors that aren't quite good enough to go to the NFL, but will really be a good football program if they stay long enough. You know what I mean? Like,
that's interesting. You'll get more of these sort of $2
million. He'll make $2 or $3 million in college, so he'll stay for 6 years, as opposed to going to the NFL. And now you've got, you know, all of or whatever North Dakota State's, or what I will say, no, a different team, but you know, whatever team could be. BYU could be all 7 years, so they're all 26 and they're just fucking killers.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely changing the landscape, and we have no idea where we're going from here in terms of what we're landing on. But it's definitely going to move the power structures away from being good recruiters to.
By the way, how much of a bitch is Saban? Fuck you. The minute you can't cheat and buy, and you're not the only guy buying players, you bounce. What a fucking asshole.
Well, his age doesn't start with a 7. He's allowed to retire. But it's definitely part of the conversation, because the NIL money.
He was cheating this whole time. They were paying, the SEC was paying people this whole time. And the minute that everyone can pay and the SEC sucks, he bounces. Go fuck yourself.
Well, it's going to take a while for the SEC to suck, but I hear what you're saying. It definitely I mean, even if he was doing it all legally, it's undercut the strength of what he did. I mean Nick Saban.
The Pac-10 could pay people for 1 year. They had 7 teams in the top 10. You know what I mean? Because they never paid anybody. The Pac-10 never paid anybody ever, out of principle. They were like, no, we're Stanford, Washington. The SEC is like,
it's changing everything. I mean, it's totally part of the reason that Texas is now one of the best, and it's gonna move, you know, power structures towards places with deep pockets. And
SMU is good. God damn, SMU is going to be good. They're going to be a powerhouse. Remember them when they could pay back?
Yeah, I remember SMU. I mean, yes, the stories like that, USC and UCLA. I mean, think about the pockets, the how deep the pockets are. People who like California football teams, if they get a little bit organized.
Dallas oil money.
Yeah, I know. Texas oil money. All of the Texas teams are going to be a lot better. It's definitely changing the landscape, and then you're going to have these little power sort of pockets with sort of brand names, like a Dion type of guy is going to come out of nowhere and attract a lot of money, and it's different coaches are going to move around. And
I couldn't believe Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't stay at Ohio State. Like, they offered him $20 million to stay. Like, it's a shorter season. You're getting hit by smaller guys. You're making more than you'd make your rookie year.
Yeah,
I would.
It's definitely that. That's
he also being a star college athlete, and also they want to know you're worth $20 million. That's not a little bit of women there, huh? What do you think? Think that's think he's getting girls at Ohio State when he's the son of a pro athlete and makes $20 million to stay?
I just want to be Gronk for one summer. That's all I want.
I always wanted to be a strip club DJ for one summer, and I'm assuming that's kind of what I'd like to be, Gronk.
Strip club DJ is a hilarious low rent version of the other dream. It's so funny.
Come to the main stage. We get Trina.
And you're hanging and doing coke with the strippers after and running around the party.
Hey.
This is your dream. Hey.
We don't do coke anymore. That's so fucking the 80s.
Oh, is it? Okay, I don't know what's going on in the strip clubs. All right, let's do kudos. Oh, we got a lot of. I skipped a bunch of things because I got so rambly with the Aaron Rodgers thing.
That's all right.
There's a bunch of comments in here. Hey guys, thanks for being here. Jerry and Ron and Ewan and Ryan. This is great. Andreas Economopoulos is in here.
Wow, look at that.
Knocking around, making comments. Bill Horner and Mike Fullington and Greg Albuchon. I'm just guessing. I don't know. I studied French briefly, but
then you guys broke up.
Yeah, it didn't go well. La Fenetra, the window. That's pretty much all I retained. Just do a couple of
words you needed.
Let's do a couple of the plugs here. I forgot the plugs too. Our friends at BetMGM. Look at us. We're friends with Big Shot betting universe. They have a new offer. Bet $5, get $158 in bonus bets. I don't know how they landed on that number, but that's what they're doing right now. The links are in the they're on all the social media platforms in the link tree. Just go there. There's a BetMGM one, and there's an Underdog fantasy one too. BetMGM is a little more the mainstream sports betting kind of stuff, and Underdog is a little more the fantasy-oriented ones. And they're both legal in most of the states, but not all the states. So blah, blah, blah. Check them out. They've got nice offers. The Underdog fantasy one, they'll match your initial deposit up to $100. So that's nice. Put in 100, you get 200, and you're off and running. And BetMGM now, $5, get 158 in bonus bets. That's a weird one, but that's what they're doing. All right. Come see me on the road. Next week I'm in Michigan. I'm excited. We put together this tour a little bit on the late side. I'm doing Jackson and what's basically Kalamazoo and Gaylord. I'm doing North Michigan in January because I'm an idiot. I am flying in the day before just to make sure I'm going to get there and get around and everything. Hastings, Nebraska coming up. St. Louis, Quincy.
How much does it cost to rent a dog sled? Is that more expensive than the Ford Focus, or is it about the same?
Well, it depends if you return it to the same dog sled company. If it's one way, that's how they fuck you. The drop fees on dog sleds are woof.
You take the dogs and just fucking take themselves back.
You really want to do it so that you return to the same. There's a joke that only comedians could love. Bloomington, Illinois, Springfield, Missouri, Burlington, Iowa. That's the nice theater in Burlington. That's going to be a fun one. The Bloomington thing is a benefit for Steve Hofstadter's little group of comic helpers in Pittsburgh. So that's kind of a cool thing. I'll tell you more about that when that gets closer. Let's do some kudos here. What do we got? Where's my thing? There it is.
Taps on the back. Taps on the back. Taps on the back. Taps on the back. Lot of kudos. Taps on the back. Lot of kudos. Taps on the back. Lot of kudos. Taps on the back. Lot of kudos.
All right, I'm giving some kudos to Jordan Love. The highest, listen to this stat, the highest quarterback rating in Packers history. How is that possible? His first playoff game, he has a better quarterback rating in a game than Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre or Bart Starr or what, good for him. Good for him. No one gave them a chance to win this game, and it was over in the middle of the second quarter. Good for them.
Yeah, it was when I was at work and I looked up and it was 21-0. I was like, what the fuck is happening? This is amazing.
I know. And then blink 27-0.
Yeah. And then you can't even blame Dak. It's like, it wasn't even the defense gave up before. Was there no defense? What's going on?
It really was surprising because all year long we've been talking about the Dallas defense and Dak looks good, but the Dallas defense is scary and good, and they were not good at all this week. I don't know what happened. So good for Jordan Love. Kudos, man.
Yeah.
Want to give some taps to somebody?
CJ Stroud just throws a pretty ass ball, does he not? Oh my God.
He does.
It's just a rope and just beautiful. And Again, how stupid are the Panthers? Oh my God! But he just it's amazing what a quarterback can do. Like just one change there just changes everything. So and then what Joe Flacco had 4 touchdown passes, right? Just 2 of them were to the Texans. So
that's right. I had the over on Joe Flacco touchdowns on the I just plugged it. What am I? Underdog Fantasy.
Yeah.
And he threw 2 to the other team. I was like, they're not going to count those, are they?
They count as completions.
Those fuckers.
Don't they?
No, they do not. They're incompletions.
See, and then you got to give. I will say although the games are dogs this week, except that Rams Lions game. What a cool story! I didn't realize how much I was going to care about it till the end. You know what I mean? But I remember my dad lived in Detroit and Windsor for a while, and I've got a lot of friends that are Midwest guys and Lions fans. And I remember when the Bengals hadn't won a playoff game in 27 whatever years it was, or 30 whatever.
Right.
So that Stafford goes back to Detroit. You're like, oh my God, is Stafford going to finally win a playoff game in Detroit? But it's against Detroit. How just heartbreaking would that be? But he played great. Goff played great. The defense played. It was a great game to win by 1 point to finally get that monkey off their back. And for Lions fans, they gave their quarterback up and saw him win a Super Bowl somewhere else. And then, but then Goff is the guy that wins the playoff game instead of Stafford. It's a really good story. It was pretty cool.
I agree with everything you just said. It was beautiful to watch the storyline of Stafford coming back. And yeah, it was cool. And Goff, people forget, Goff was in a Super Bowl. Goff was one of the fresh new faces of the NFL. He was slinging it and doing well.
Right? Number 1 pick or number 2 pick, something like that.
I think he was number 1 overall. And somehow the word on him was that he was good, but not great enough to win a Super Bowl. And they just traded him away. He was basically a salary cap dump. And I was always rooting for him, and I love that he's been good for the last couple of years. And now they could even build a team around him going forward. It's kind of cool because you thought at the time when the trade, it was like, they're going to have to just eat their lumps and hang around with Jared Goff for 2 years and they can move on. So good for him. I think it's great. It's a cool story. And they showed the dude in the 80, I think he's 89 years old. He's been a season ticket holder of the Lions for 66 years. It's like, wow, that poor guy. Jesus.
Yeah. But it was impressive. It was cool. I was happy for him, because my biggest fear a couple of years ago was when Roethlisberger retired, that the Steelers were going to sign Andy Dalton and then win the Super Bowl with Andy Dalton, and every Cincinnati Bengals they would have to commit suicide in unison. It's Japan at the end of World War II. We just all be like, all right, the Steelers won a Super Bowl with Dalton, we're out. You can't come back from that. So.
Yeah, your team's lined up to be good for a while. It's fun when that happens. So that's cool. All right, let's do this.
But now it's time for which comes first. Oh, yes, it's time for which comes first. Now tell me, will this happen before that happens? It's time for which comes first.
I was wrong about one of these earlier, too, in the season when I said the Bengals would win the Super Bowl before Bill Belichick left the Patriots. So I was wrong.
Oh, that's right. Well, you got a chance to make up for it here. Which comes first, a Belichick hire or a Falcons coaching hire? And of course, you can go choice C. Those happen at the same moment.
Oh, you think they're going to hire?
I don't think that's going to be the answer, but you never know.
I would not hire Belichick. I don't. I think he's done. I think it's over. I don't think he ever has a winning season again. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just think he's a defensive coach. He doesn't know how to do anything on offense. He's a terrible drafter. He wants all the power. The older you get, the dumber you generally are, because you believe everything you've ever done is genius and you don't learn anything anymore. I just think I wouldn't hire a defensive coach. I'm not worried about the Bengals losing Lou Anarumo because I don't think anybody's going to hire a defensive head coach ever again. DeMeco Ryans is an example of one that's doing well, but in general, all the really good coaches are offensive coaches. And when you have a defensive coach now, that's how you won 30 years ago. That's not how you win now. You need to have an inventive offense that can fucking make some differences, some plays and stuff. You can't just be good on defense anymore. I don't know. I wouldn't hire. Some stupid team will hire Bill Belichick, but he won't be successful there. It'll be Jordan with the with the Wizards.
I hope you're right. I'm rooting for that to be the outcome. But he's got so much gravitas and such a name, and there's so much thirst for, high profile big names and people who could be great. And I think he's definitely going to get a job. It's just a matter of where and when. I agree with his age starts with a 7, and the kids he's coaching age starts with a 2. I think that's such a big gap now that I'm not sure he's connecting with the players anymore.
I just think he has the offense. He does not have the offensive brain to do what Shanahan and those guys are doing. You just can't. You got to have some sort. I mean, look at last time. McVay took that Rams team with nobody, and almost won a playoff game because he's just that good schematically, and you have to be that in this league now. You can't, And I think so. People figured out what Bill was doing would take out your best player and do a different game plan each team instead of having their standard defense. I mean, was novel. Now I think lots of people do that. So I don't know. I would say so. Someone is going to hire Bill Belichick.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to say he gets hired before the Falcons hire their coach, just because they're gonna fuck that up somehow, and it'll take too long. So I don't. Where's Bill go? Where do you think he's gonna go? Dallas
or San Diego have got to be a couple of the top choices, right?
Oh God, San Diego's too. Yeah, they're stupid enough to do that. God, yeah, can you imagine ruining Justin Herbert with fucking Bill Belichick.
Their coach has not done them a service for 3 years. They're happy to get something new, and why not?
They need to get rid of that guy for sure. That guy was a coach and their defense is terrible. So now here's my question for your Falcons. You think you're going to get Justin Fields? What would you think about that?
I would love that. He's on my short list of things I want the Falcons to do this offseason. Yeah, that would be great.
I think it'd be good for you.
I want Fields or Cousins or one of the top 4 quarterbacks in the draft, and maybe 3. Penix really looked terrible on the championship game.
I want Brock Bowers to go to the Bengals just because his last name's Bowers, but also I think
you get a Bowers Bengals jersey. That's pretty dreamy.
Yeah, and then but I think he might be the next Kelsey or Kelsey Light, and Burrow with a really good tight end would be amazing. So that's
you got to trade up for him. He's not going to be available.
He's going 8th or 9th.
It might be sooner. Yeah, I mean, there's only like 5 that'll definitely be, maybe 4. They'll definitely be ahead of him. There's the 2 quarterbacks for sure, and then Marvin Harrison, and then there's 1 lineman I think that's super buzzworthy. He's going to be up there somewhere between 4 and 10.
There's at least 2 tackles going in the top 10. I think there'll 5 quarterbacks go in the top 10 because a bunch of these teams are going to trade up like dummies. So there's 7, 8 with Harrison. So he might go 9th or 10th. I'm thinking we trade Jake Browning in our first round pick for somebody who needs a quarterback and has got the 9th.
I'll take Jake Browning if it's not too expensive. He's great. He's the 29th best quarterback in the world.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And he works real hard, So I will say I was at a Bengals bar in New York, and the game that Browning, when we played the Colts, whatever that weekend was, and Browning got a thumb cramp and he had to go out of the game because his thumb cramped up, and AJ McCarron came in. Like this guy, wait, we're back here? No. It was the saddest, funniest thing I've ever seen him react to a group of 100 New York Bengals fans watching AJ McCarron run on to be the quarterback. 10 years after we were trying to get him to beat him.
Wait, was McCarron the one that Musburger was drooling over his girlfriend?
I think so. Yeah.
That's so funny because Browning had the drooling girlfriend this year. So
that outfit, wow.
Woof. All right, let's. I think Belichick's the answer because he's going to be higher on the tier, and the Falcons won't sign him, and he'll go to one of these hotshot spots, and then the Falcons will.
Who do you think the Falcons are going to hire?
I don't know. I was discussing this with my brother. I realized I don't know all these sort of coordinator guys. I can't keep up with all the info. But yeah, I mean, what you want is like you said, a McVay type, Mike McDaniel type that's coming up.
How crazy is it the Commanders, or the Manders as we call them? The Manders at one point had McVay, LaFleur,
Oh, right.
and Shanahan on their staff,
Shanahan.
and still sucked.
Yeah, I know.
Like when the Browns had Saban and Belichick and were terrible. Like,
Yeah.
that's just institutional.
The Falcons had Mike McDaniel during his drinking days. They're the ones who had to sit him down and tell him to stop drinking.
Really?
Yeah, they talk about it in the in-season Hard Knocks, which I highly recommend. Actually, it's great. It's here's what's always driven me crazy about Hard Knocks with the preseason. It's too much fluffy stuff where you go to a museum.
Kids, I don't give a fuck about their
I
children.
don't give a fuck about your kids, right? I agree. So the in-season one has less of that.
We have children. Yeah, okay.
It's
So
a little more X's and O's than the preseason one, and it's
so
just
I
as
watched
well
the whole
produced.
Season one, and the one guy's wife was pregnant, so the whole thing was about how she was going to have a baby.
Yeah, I don't care about your wife.
watch football
I-
and get away from the idea of babies.
I know it's. That's the whole point. We watch football.
We don't want to hear about children. That's why we watch football. Come on. Your kid's a 5-star recruit. I don't give a fuck about him. Stop it. Come to the hospital when it's born. I'll come to its graduation. Between that, I don't want to hear about it. I
always get nervous when I wholeheartedly agree with one of your takes.
When we agree, get
your
nervous.
children.
That's what I didn't like with the quarterback show on Netflix. It was all about their kids. I don't care
Yeah,
about their
it was too much. I have the same complaint. Right. It was too much about the other things. I agree. I get it. People want to hear the full story and the thing. I want less of the full story. I want the X's and O's part.
Oh, I don't mind the full story. I just don't like children. I mean, you can tell me about your college mom and like, I don't care. I don't give a fuck that your child's 4. He's stupid.
I totally get it. I struggle at school events because I care about my kid and I don't care about your kid even a little bit. I can't sit here and talk about your kid. I'm going to lose my mind.
Well,
I would rather just run and
parents
jump in
feel
the
about,
dumpster.
Parents feel about children. They feel about congressmen. They're all terrible, but mine.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's like
That's true. And it's the only way that the species could survive. Because if I cared about my kid at the level that I care about your kid, that my kid would never make it. I've always been puzzled by the gap. Like I literally can't listen to an extended conversation about someone else's kid. It just makes me insane. Like, why would you think I care? Stop
it's
it.
like watch. It's like what this doesn't happen anymore. But when people come back from their vacation and show you slides of all the fucking shit they saw in Italy, it's like motherfucker. I don't care what your vacation picture is. I wasn't there. Oh, a picture of a church. Shut up. I don't see any of this.
Totally agree. I get it. The other version of this is my wife would wake up and tell me about her dream. Like, I don't care about your dream. I don't want to hear about it. And like excruciating detail, like just, I wasn't there. I don't care. I'm not interested.
Yeah, she's mad at you because you were a dick to her in her dream. That's my favorite part.
Well, I'm a dick when she's telling me about her dream. That's for sure.
Well,
No wonder I'm not married.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, that's a whole other. I can't imagine being mad at you ever, Kostaki. I can't even like. That's what's so funny. Like your whole opening was like, for the first time in my life, people were mad at me for a minute. I didn't like it at all, guys. So stop being mad at me.
I don't like when people are mad at me. That's true.
Nice dude. Like, because you. By the way, I didn't see any of these comments or these memes, but I know you weren't like, fuck it. Like you were like, hey guys, come on. It's a football page. You know?
I definitely started that way. But that's another thing about it.
You weren't hostile and back at these people telling them to shut the fuck up. You were like, hey, I see your opinion.
I got a little pointed by the end. I have to say, yeah, right. That's the other thing. Like, not only do I not like that this kind of thing is going on, but I don't like how I get when I'm like involved. Like, I don't want to be upset about anything. It sucks. Ugh.
I tell you what, I stopped literally like, I don't know. It's probably right around Black Lives Matter last year. I was like, you know what? I'm done arguing with people online. And I just don't do it anymore, like ever. Even if someone says something egregiously stupid, because it's like, here's the thing. Even either side, even if one of those people on either side of your post said something that was so fucking brilliant that we all changed our minds one direction. I said, you know what? I was wrong. You were right. Aaron Rodgers is a dick or isn't a dick, whichever one.
Right.
You know what? It changes nothing. Nothing matters. Nothing changes about the vaccine or not the whatever you're arguing. Even if everyone on the internet agreed, it doesn't change our fucking drug policy. So who gives a shit? Why do we argue more? That makes no.
I have to say, as a student of democracy, like I was studying democracy for a living. I was going to teach American government. I have a master's degree that specialized in American elections. I do have a sense of you have to engage in the public sphere, especially when you're a voice of reason, because your absence just leaves a void for lunatics. But I agree with everything you said too, and you can't change anyone. And even if you did, then what?
Yeah, it doesn't make any difference. Yeah, it's a tough. I mean, look, I think we're gonna figure some of this out eventually. That social media is a drug. It's literally like we've all been on crack for 20 years. Now we're like, oh wait, is that bad for you? Like this is exactly what happened to cocaine in the 80s. In the 80s, everyone did cocaine, and like 97, someone was like, I think this is fucking us up. That's what we did with social media. Like you can't. And by the way, when we talk about why it's Facebook, because Facebook is 30 years older demographically than all the other ones, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah. It definitely skews older.
The older you are, the dumber you are, just generally. You have more wisdom because you've lived around longer, but you have less knowledge because there was less knowledge to learn, right? Like there's 50 years of shit I didn't learn because I'm 50. That you know what I mean? Like that now if you're 10, you learn 40 extra years of shit we didn't know. Till you know what I mean? Like whatever. And so
now we're back to your crazy takes where I'm like,
saying, like the reason Facebook was that because they're all 60. You can't the boomers were taught to believe everything you read. You can't give a generation of people that was taught to believe everything they read the internet. It's just not going to work.
That's an interesting perspective.
They don't have the cognitive ability to know the difference. You know what I mean? Like that's where like when I hear something crazy, I go, well, that's not true. You know? My dad one time, this is a perfect example of the show. This is where my dad's 75 or 76 or whatever. And we were this is right before the pandemic. It was when Jameis Winston was still a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, right? And it was like week 8. So it's week 8. And my dad goes, oh, Jameis Winston has 70 interceptions this year, which leads the league.
70.
And I go, well, that's not true. And he goes, what do you mean? And I go, what do you mean what I mean? That can't be true. And he's like, why? And I'm like, it's week 8. He'd have had to throw 10 interceptions a game, every game, to have 70 interceptions. And he goes, well, he threw 7 last week. I go, yeah, that's 3 less than he'd need every fucking week. And that set the record. I'm like, here's your problem, Dad. You did no math in your head. You heard a thing somewhere. Oh, 70 interceptions. So we went home to his house and we rewound the pregame to where somebody on Fox said he had 70 interceptions since he entered the league, which leads the league. And blah, blah. Well, my dad didn't hear that part and then did no cognitive fucking thought and wandered into the world and started telling people this thing as if it was true.
Right,
I'm like, you at least have some sort of ability to, in your head. Did you read it? No, I don't have to read it anywhere. I know there's no fucking way he could have 70 interceptions right now. It's just not possible. And because your brain doesn't understand that means you shouldn't have the internet. You can't do basic math to understand that's not real.
Yeah, his big year was the joke was 30 for 30 because he had 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. That was one of the worst interception years on record. Right.
Yeah, you couldn't have 7 interceptions by week 7. You just couldn't.
You certainly wouldn't keep getting the job.
That's what I'm saying. There's just no way. But my point is he's a boomer, and so he did no fact check. He just heard something on Fox and went, you know what? It's like, stop it. That's not.
You don't even get 10 possessions in a game unless you're throwing a pick every time.
Exactly.
It's hilarious. All right, let's close out with a quiz that I think you'll find interesting.
All right.
All right, kids. Put your thinking caps on. It's quiz time.
The 5 coldest games in NFL history.
Okay.
We just saw one of them.
Yep.
Where were the other 4?
One was at Riverfront Stadium. It was a playoff game against the Chargers. The Ice Bowl, I think it was 1981. Number
This
2.
is impressive. This is why I put this together. When I saw that one of them was Cincy, I was like, Cincy?
Oh, yeah.
Cincy doesn't belong on this list.
-47, man. It was bananas. Yeah, it was crazy. That was 81. I'm assuming there's got to be one in Green Bay at some point. I don't know what.
Yes, correct.
One in Green Bay. I'll tell you, I went to an Oilers Bengals game when I was a child where like it snowed so much. It was -30 degrees. There was like snow. Our feet were in the snow. I've never been more cold my whole life. Like when we got back to the minivan to drive home, it was like the coldest I've ever been ever. But I don't think that was on the list. Let's see. We'll go. So we got one in Green Bay. There's 5. You said one in Green Bay, one in Cincinnati. We'll go with the one just was in Kansas City. That counts, right? We're counting.
Yep. That's
3.
number 4 on the list.
Number 4. Okay. I'm gonna say was Minnesota used to have an outdoor stadium, right? I'm assuming there's one maybe in Minneapolis and Minnesota.
That's correct.
Probably in in the 70s. I'm assuming before they got their dome. And then I'm gonna go with this is a dark horse, but there was a 1987 Tampa Bay. It was -65. It was really weird. Really weird. It was really
This is from your dad. This is one of your dad's facts.
Yes, this is dad facts. Dad facts. Tampa was
Tampa Bay. It was -65 one day. No, it wasn't, because there are palm trees there, and palm trees prove that it never freezes. All right, I'm gonna give you
for real. Let's go one in Philadelphia. There's probably one in Philadelphia. I imagine it was real cold.
I'm going to give you this. I'm going to give you this because your first 4 answers are the 4 answers. Minneapolis was twice.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm going to say you win. I can't believe you got this right. This is very impressive. So Kansas City. All right, here we go. We'll do it in order. Ice Bowl, Lambeau, December 31st, 1967. The championship game between the Cowboys and the Packers. This was pre-Super Bowl, right? This is the pre-Super Bowl era.
Yeah.
They played on New Year's Eve. The actual temperature was -13. And then, of course, the wind chill was some crazy -37 or whatever. That's the coldest game in NFL history. January 10th, 1982, Cincinnati, Chargers, Bengals. So it was the 91 season. You're exactly right. I'm very impressed. The Bengals won and went on to the Super Bowl that year. It was -9 was the actual temperature. And then, of course, the wind chill was some crazy 27. Seahawks at Vikings, 2016, -6. The number 4 coldest game ever we just watched. Chiefs home game against the Dolphins. Against the Dolphins. That's really rude to have that team be in one of the coldest games ever. That's
Yeah.
And then Bears at Vikings, 1972, week 12. I mean, it was early in the year. It was December 3rd. It was -2 actual temp at kickoff. So 2 of them were in Minnesota. One, of course, Lambeau.
How crazy, and baseball is this too. How crazy is it that we are so invested in this sport that is so just the conditions and the field can be so wildly different given whatever week to week. You know what I mean? Like in basketball, it's pretty much always the same. You know what I mean? That whole thing from Hoosiers, the height, the rim's the same, and the free throw line's the same as it is our gym in Hickory or whatever. But no, in baseball, like, sometimes the pole's 250 yards out on right field. Sometimes it's 500 feet. You never fucking know. And then we play this game all summer, and then the playoffs are in -10 degree weather, and then the Super Bowl's in a sunny place or a dome. Like, it doesn't make any sense. You know,
Yeah, it is weird when some of the things we've accepted, the constructs are odd.
To get through New England or Buffalo for years, you have to go play in this shitty weather that only they are good at. And then the Super Bowl's played in sun. It doesn't make any sense on some level. Like, we should just make football's too expensive and too important. We should make them all domes. It should all be perfect, the exact same field, and see who the best team is.
Well, that's the Fantasy Footballers is one of the podcasts I listen to. I like a lot, and they have this ongoing argument that all games should be in domes. They should all be. It's ridiculous that we have this sort of Buffalo thing that's going to happen today. It's going to be kind of fun to watch, but I agree with the argument, and yet I love the cold weather games. I love a good snow game. I love that it's weird and that
I
it's a
hate
little bit different.
defense. I just want them to score 45
I love that
points.
some of them are natural turf and some of them are artificial and some are this and some are that.
Yeah, it's just so weird that it's just this multi-billion-dollar sport and that the conditions can just. I mean, like you watch that Texans game, where like literally it's just the conditions are perfect. They can just hit
Right.
And then the next thing, it's so cold. Patrick Mahomes' helmet cracks in half. Like
I
Jesus.
agree. It is kind of crazy that we accept that, especially that it's playoff time. Like this is the game that decides whether or not you can get to the Super Bowl. Yeah, it's wind chill -30. Good luck to you. Hang in there.
It'd be like, oh, in Minnesota, you're not allowed to use your left hand. We do everything one-handed here. That's how we play it here. Like what? Yeah, no, here you can't use your left hand. It's all right-handed stuff, and
It's all different here.
And, it's like, why would you change all the rules just for your city? Well, that's how we do it. We've never been left-handed.
Well, that's how we do it. Well, what do you root for? What do you want to see going forward?
Well, what I wanted to see initially as a Bengals hater was I wanted to see the Browns and Joe Flacco beat the Ravens in the AFC Championship game to go to the Super Bowl, and then have the Browns beat in the Super Bowl by Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. I thought that'd just be funny to have both teams that gave up on their quarterbacks beat by those.
Right.
But
the world we live on.
that's going to happen. But I'm saying at this point, I would like to see Josh Allen get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think the Bills as a fan base deserve it. They're really good. Oh, by the way, can we talk about how terrible Colts fans are, by the way? That Shane Steichen guy brings that shitty team that's terrible, has like 3 good players almost to the playoffs, and they're all over him. Oh, fire that guy. It's good. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's an offensive genius. And the Colts fans are so spoiled, rotten idiots. They lose
They're
their
tough,
quarterback.
man.
And they could not be. I mean, Peyton Manning won 11 games a year for 12 years in a row, and they couldn't have been more mad at him. They're just the worst. Anyway, I'm rooting for the Bills. I think the Lions are a good story, so I'd like to see the Lions win another playoff game. But I think the Bills is who I'm rooting for overall.
Yeah, Bills and Lions are easy to root for.
Yeah, I mean, who else is left? The Niners are fine.
I'd like to see Lamar Jackson win a Super Bowl. That'd be fun.
See, I'd like to see him die in a bus crash, if I'm being honest. I do not like that. I hate I like the Steelers more than I hate the Ravens more than I've hated probably anything.
You're a Bengals guy. I understand.
Yeah, it's not that. It's just they always are. I just never think they're that good, and then they are, and it pisses me off. It's
like,
like
the opposite of your team.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just kind of. I hate good management and a well-run organization that keeps sticking them out. They're good decisions.
Yeah. Who needs that?
They're fucking
in your division. I get it.
God. Yeah. So even when we have a good team, I mean, this thing, we were 9-8 and we're last in the division, and the Buccaneers are 9-8 in the fucking playoffs. It's that's also kind of bananas the way the divisions work. It's just
yes, I agree.
The juggernaut. I think we should. I don't know. But also, like I said, I like the idea of relegation. I like kicking teams out of the league.
We can't do that.
Well, I think I've said this in the podcast before, but I really the rule I would institute in all professional sports is, as an owner, if you don't make the playoffs for 10 years in a row, you have to sell the team. Those are the rules.
I love that. That's one of your best rules.
And that's it.
That's great.
Because the owner's invested too. If David Kepper's going to keep throwing drinks on people, you better make the playoffs, dude, or you're out. You can't keep making stupid decisions. Yeah, and you're going to make $1 billion or $8 billion, so it's not like you lose any money, you dicks. But yeah, you can't.
That's
continue.
Right. Yeah, but eventually, enough with you. Go away. All right, man. Where do people find you?
The Commanders are going to hire Dan Snyder as their coach. That's weird, right?
I thought of you when Chick was complaining about his coach situation. He said he said anybody but the one we got now, we'll take Arthur Smith. And immediately my head was like, I was thinking of your joke. We get Dan Snyder in there.
That would be so funny. Just hire him just to fire him, anyway. Just a little funky. At Bowers Comedy, you can find me Instagram, fun Snapchat follow. I just get drunk and wander around the world. At Bowers Comedy, all that shit. Check it out. And
Awesome.
Hopefully we can find T. Higgins. That's all I care about.
Thanks for doing this, buddy. It's good to see you.
Have a good time. Good seeing you, man.
Hope you guys get what you want in the playoffs. Enjoy it all. We got 2 games today. That's kind of fun. Monday, 2 playoff games.
We're presenting a fun Sunday Funday. We're gonna eat food. People come over watch football all day. What are you doing?
Awesome. I love that. I'm gonna sit here and write jokes. I gotta write 10 memes today. What do you mean? I'm working.
Oh, I thought you were off the meat.
I'm off from one subject in memes. For now. I'm not giving up on anything longer.
I will say Kimball's line where he said the only 2 A's on Aaron's report card were in Aaron was a fucking great line.
It's a good line, right?
His response, that was a great line. But whatever.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.